Joining us for a deeper look into the economy and the state of labor across the country, Marc Morial, former New Orleans mayor and now president and CEO of the National Urban League. It's great to see you, Marc. We try to figure out we try to juxtapose these numbers with the feelings of a lot of Americans, and we struggle with that. And maybe you have a good insight into it. I think, you know, when you have a couple of years of tough inflation, prices don't come down, inflation moderates, but people still feel like their paycheck's not going far enough. I guess real wages are growing now, but that's been relatively recent, I think since last May or something. And so people still have less buying power than they did from a couple of years ago. Does that explain things?
You know, first of all, thanks for having me. You know, what's striking about this report is how it beat every single expectation from every, if you will, economist in the country. No one predicted a jobs report like this. And what I would say, and I'll address your question, is the professional economists have, and many watchers have predicted pretty consistently for the last 3 years that we would have a hurricane, a tsunami, a tropical storm, or heavy rain when it comes to the economy. They didn't predict the sunshine of consistent job growth and now lessening inflation, increasing consumer confidence. I heard many of the business leaders who were on this morning express optimism about 2024. No one expected that. There is a hangover from COVID and the recession, and Americans are feeling that pain. But let's understand that one of the biggest challenges we face when it comes to Americans' ability to afford to live at the quality of life they want is housing costs. Mortgages are up, rents are up, it's expensive. It's expensive for young professionals. It's expensive for working families. It's expensive for single moms. It's expensive for mature couples to be able to have quality housing. And there's an issue Washington and the private sector should confront, and that is we need a housing strategy that produces more affordable units, that produces more housing in this country, because the 20-year trend is now impacting and affecting us. So against this powerful report, I mean, this, you know, I saw every prediction of 175, 200 maybe was optimistic. Now we're at 350 and the consistency of it. So we should take it as a positive report, but we should understand what really is driving the pain for many Americans. And it is, I think, inflation when it comes to housing and the cost of a basic necessity of life.
Yeah, that's certainly something that one of the pieces of the puzzle trying to understand this upcoming election, Marc, because you would think that the president's numbers among minorities and people benefiting from things would be at historic levels, and that's not the case. It's constantly pointed out that if it's former President Trump, that his numbers have actually been increasing where it doesn't follow with what you just described to me in terms of
I always
why.
tell people it's dangerous to read too much in early polls. If you followed early polls, Obama would have been beat, Clinton would have been beat, George Bush 43 would have been beat. These early polls, I think people in politics, we all follow them, but what will count is where this election is come August and September, when people really kick in, when campaigning and advertising begins. But there's a long-term, sort of sense that we're on an economic roller coaster. We had the Great Recession of 7 and 8, then we had a recovery. Then we had COVID and the impact of that. So I think what many Americans, I know Americans in Black communities and brown communities, unlike every other American, want is stability. Economic stability, not chaos, not confusion, to give them an opportunity to build their personal finances, build their balance sheets, build a secure future. So I just think people should step back and say, this is a good report. And look, when it comes to these reports, I mean, people tend. I looked at the economist panel. I think people spin it depending on where they stand politically, and we should factor that in. But I like to call it as I see it. It's a good report.